and welcome back to the Calm and Connected podcast. I'm your host, Janine Halloran, and today I want to talk about using a reset space to support social and emotional development in the classroom as we return to a new school year. So I've been thinking a lot about starting school again, and my kids starting school again, and my clients starting school again. I've been reading about it, and I've been talking a lot about this new school year. So we're about to step into another school year in this sort of shifting, changing landscape of still dealing with the pandemic. And I really have been thinking about what is the best thing that we can do as the adults to help our kids as we are transitioning into this new school year. So one of the things I keep thinking about is supporting the mental and social and emotional health of our students. So when I think about as adults, when we are overstressed and when we are anxious and when we are overwhelmed or even just like angry about things, we have a really hard time focusing and getting our work accomplished, and we don't do our best, right? Well, the same thing goes for our kids. When they are feeling overly anxious, when they are feeling stressed, when they are feeling frustrated, their brains aren't ready to receive new information and are not ready to learn. So one of the things that I want to make sure that we are thinking about is making sure our kids are in a place where they are able to take in new information, able to learn. And I believe that starts with social and emotional development. So I've been reading and looking at some different things and ways that we can support social and emotional development in the classroom. And of course, I turned to CASEL, the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, that's out of Chicago. And I was reading through some of the materials they provided, and one thing that they talked a lot about in one article that I was reading about ways that we can support social and emotional learning in the classroom is peace corners. So schools all over the nation are designating these spaces where kids can go in, identify their feelings, use a coping strategy, and then return to the classroom. And this is part of a good social and emotional curriculum. This is part of just good practice when it comes to supporting social and emotional learning in a classroom community and also in a school community. So what is a peace corner? That's, sometimes people throw around that word, or you might hear that word. What does that mean? So when I've been looking and researching, there's a lot of different names that people call this sort of place where kids can go and use their skills, identify emotions, and then be able to return to the classroom. So sometimes people call it a peace corner. People call it a calm spot, a calming corner, calm down area, relaxation station, or reset space. I personally tend to gravitate towards reset space only because I like the idea that kids go into this area and then they reset, they regroup, and then they can rejoin the community, or even at home. You can use a reset space at home as well. So I don't see it as a punishment at all. It's not a place where a teacher can just send a kid when they're like acting out and being a nudge in class. It's more about when kids are feeling frustrated or upset or overwhelmed or anxious, they can go to this place and identify what they are feeling and use a strategy. It could also be used for kids who maybe they're a little bit silly, maybe they're a little unfocused. They can use this kind of place as well. Best practice in my mind is for every kid to be able to use the space. So oftentimes when I do presentations, I will talk about, there are certain kids who are going to need more help, more support, need more support as they are learning how to cope. When I give talks, a lot of times I talk about how there are going to be certain kids who are going to need more support. Those kids who have identified anxiety, those kids who have identified stress, but all kids need to learn how to cope in safe and healthy ways. And just like all kids need to learn how to cope, all kids should be able to use and access a peace corner or a reset space in their classroom. So I don't think of it as only for those frequent flyers, only for those kids who are identified. I want all kids to be able to use it. So coming up with a plan at the beginning of the school year with the teacher and the classroom. So just establishing those rules, just like you establish classroom routines and rules, you establish classroom routines and rules around a peace corner, around a reset space where they can go in, they can identify their feelings, they can take 5 or 10 minutes in there to pick a strategy or two. Maybe it's deep breathing, or maybe it's a relaxation strategy, maybe it's like a quick tiny movement strategy. So they use that strategy or two, and then they identify their feelings again, seeing if they feel any better, has it changed, do they have new feelings, and then returning to the classroom. So every kid should be able to do it. And I think best practice is about 5 to 10 minutes in the reset space. So I just find it so amazing. As a therapist, one of my favorite things is when I can see a kid identify their emotions, use a strategy, and be able to identify that they feel better. It is powerful. It is amazing. It is empowering for our kids to be able to know that they can figure out what strategies will work for them. So when they go into the space, I like to just sort of designate that sort of like 3 different sections of things that they do. So they go in and they identify their emotions. I am feeling frustrated, I'm feeling silly, I'm feeling scared, I'm feeling anxious. And then they can pick a couple of strategies to use. So, being able to have some visuals to make it easier for them to pick out what strategies work for them and would be helpful for them. Then they actually do it. So they have the materials there that they need, or they use their imagination to use the strategy. And then after they've done those strategies, then they identify their feelings again. Do they feel the same? Are their feelings smaller? All of that. And then they will be able to return to the classroom. It is super cool when it works, and it's really amazing to help kids be able to build their social and emotional skills. Just like we're building their reading skills, we're building their math skills in the classroom. This is a way we can build their social and emotional skills. It is so cool to be able to help kids in this way and help them know that they have choices and they can do something to make themselves feel better. So, like I mentioned before, at Coping Skills for Kids, we call it a reset space. And I've actually created a reset space that you can use, and you can see it in our store. So I have one that is digital where you can print it out at school. So it's all, it's a downloadable product. You can download it and you can print it at school. And then I have a select number that are actually already printed and ready to ship. So there's some that are available and ready to go right now, so that you have all of the feelings faces posters, you have coping cue cards in there, and you just have it and you can set it up. So I wanted to give you a little bit of information about what was actually in our reset space at Coping Skills for Kids. So we have the Feelings Faces posters that have the coping characters that are also the coping characters we use on our cards. So it's really fun to see all of their different faces and see all the different emotions that they could have, or kids could have, and using that as a way for kids to help identify how they are feeling. I love that. And then for the school edition, I'm really excited because we have 60 coping cue cards in there. It's a selection of the coping cue cards that we have available now, but these ones have been specifically picked because they work in a school setting, in a counselor's office at a school, so that they can use the strategies that are things that are more practical for them to do, like taking a nap or going and doing a bike ride is not included in the strategies because those aren't strategies they can use at school. The other thing I really like about the way that this is designed is that we also included 10 cards that are focused on just deep breathing, because I think deep breathing is such an important part of getting kids' bodies a little bit calmer. I wanted to make sure that they had some strategies that they could use right there, and then they can go and use maybe a different strategy, maybe a relaxation or a processing or a movement strategy. And just like all of our coping cue cards, it's set up by our coping style. So you have all 5 coping styles plus the deep breathing strategies. And then there's instructions on how to set it all up, and you can make it as simple or as complex as you want. So you can do something as simple as just just a Feelings Faces poster and use a pocket chart for the cue cards and have a Feelings Faces poster for after in there. You can do it as simple as that, or you can make it really big and use all of the things that we have in there. So if you want some more information, there's a great video that just shows you the different things that you can do with the reset space over at copingskillsforkids.com/reset. So I'm so excited to be able to share this with you. And if you want to learn more, you can just go and visit our website. I'd love to know what you call a reset space. So if you want to message me on Instagram, feel free to do so. My Instagram handle is @copingskillsforkids. So you can just go ahead and reach out to me over there. If you like this podcast, please feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues and give us a rating and review wherever you listen. And one last thing, don't forget about yourself. Please take a few minutes, have a little fun, and have an awesome day.